All right, Jeff Brandeis, my friend, my business partner. We've been doing some great work together back and forth. And Jeff, one superpower that you have that I wanted to do kind of this quick, video training on was listening. You have developed a muscle, and that is, and you teach people how to develop this muscle about learning styles and how to identify someone else's learning style and why this is so critical for a sales conversation. Before we get into that, maybe just a little bit about who you are, what you do, who you serve.
Sure. Thanks, Josh. Again, happy to be here. Pleasure always working with you. So thank you so much. So I'm Jeff Brandeis, owner and CEO of Brandeis Coaching, Brandeis Training Solutions. We work with professionals or entrepreneurs to help grow their businesses from, several X to where they want to go is Y. And we work with them to help them with their sales processes, help them with overcoming their challenges, whether it's time, team, or money. And it's part of their growth strategies of how they actually want to grow. So it's fun. I love working with the entrepreneurs and the owners, and I'm really passionate about watching them learn and watching them grow both professionally and individually. It's great.
Yeah, for sure. And okay, so imagine now we're kind of because I know you do a lot of workshops. You do both virtual and obviously when you can in-person workshops.
Yeah, life has changed.
So one of those sessions that you do is all about communication style and learning style specifically.
Correct. Yep.
Let's start off. What are we talking about and why is this so critical?
Josh, it's even more critical right now, especially as we're doing more things remotely. We all know that people like to do business with people that they like and trust. And how we build trust remotely is more difficult, candidly, than is for you and I were sitting down, having a little small talk and chit chat, and but everybody's now remote. Mm-hmm. So how you engage your prospects or your clients to upsell them and build that rapport faster virtually is so important. At the end of the day, how people learn is actually how people buy. So when you're actually able to match your presentation style to their learning style, that's how you build rapport 3 times faster in 1/3 the time.
What happens if someone has we'll get into the learning styles and so forth, but what happens if someone is a particular learning style, but you keep talking in your learning style? What's the outcome there? Or why is there resistance?
You have a mismatch. Because and I see this so often, because I attend webinars, I attend sales presentations, and let's start with a basic thing of presenters not even turning the camera on. Okay, not having the webcam on. I mean, you talk about building rapport. You want to see who you're doing business with, and I can't tell you how often I now join webinars or a sales presentation and cameras are off. Mm-hmm. So the speech and how you connect with people and the visual aspects of buying all plays into it. So when you don't do that, the brain and your prospect, you just don't connect. There's a misconnect. And it's hard to understand sometimes why you don't make that sale, but partly of it is because you weren't able to match your presentation to their learning style. You lost them. They're on their phone. They're doing their email.
Yeah. Right, because it's like speaking a foreign language in some regards.
Correct.
I guess I bet there's some really great examples of. I'm just trying to think of if we were to play this out. This is kind of now is the time where we're going to play a video, and you're going to see 2 examples of, hey, Marcia, gee, I can see it's like going to a video where we can explain this. But so go ahead, and if you wouldn't mind, Jeff, talk about the different learning styles that there are.
Sure. So there's 3 learning styles, Josh. And actually during our training class, I have a sheet or a quiz or a quick yes/no type of question and answer that actually will identify people's learning styles. So there are three. There's visual people. They like to see things. They want to be able to touch things. They want to see things in front of them. And then there's the auditory people who love to listen to podcasts. I like to listen to the audio books, and they can just grasp that from an audio style aspect of learning. And then there's a third style, which is kinesthetic. And most people are a mixture of kinesthetic, which is a mixture of visual and auditory. So they like to see and possibly hear things. So it puts the two of them together. And so when you look at that aspect of doing a presentation, if you're just speaking to them, they could be visual people, and you're not connecting with them.
So I guess someone could just kind of Google and find that test, but what are some telltale signs that you might be like, just let's talk about ourselves now, and then we'll talk about how to deduct in our communication with someone. Like, how can we quickly figure out what somebody is like? Jeff, and maybe like we'll role play here in just a second, but how can we determine what our learning style is? Like if you do this, you might be, whatever.
So Josh, it's always one of the things when in sales, they always teach you have 2 ears, right? And you got the one mouth. So It's up to us as salespeople to listen intently to the words that the people or your prospects are using. So when someone says hey, can you show me how you do this? Or can you show me something in red velvet? I'm looking for a vehicle that can tow. And the word show is a term that the person wants to see. Okay, they want to see something that's tangible. They don't want you to now go off on a 15-minute conversation when they use the word show.
Yeah.
And there are times where that same person just switches, their style, and they say, okay, hey, that's great. Can you tell me more? So then if you continue to show things and without explaining things, then again, it's all about matching. And candidly, with several people in the room or a husband and wife, one could be visual, one could be auditory. So you almost have to be able to identify both and then switch to make sure they're both engaged with you.
Yeah, that's interesting. So to the husband, so as you can see here, ... and wife, let me tell you what that actually means, what you're seeing.
Yes.
Okay, but
you're getting it. That's exactly right, Josh.
Yeah. So
Mrs.
Jones. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jeff, please.
No, I was going to say, Mrs. Jones, imagine, driving down the street, your neighbors are seeing you. Wouldn't that just be great? Can you just see how that looks for you? And here, Mr. Jones, here's that spec sheet that you want to see, so you can look at the, how many miles per hour you'll get in the suspension and how many horsepower. So here's that spec document. So I'm talking to both of them and trying to appeal to each of their learning styles.
Visual C is number one. What's the second one?
Auditory.
Auditory. Okay. And then the third
is kinesthetic. That's a difficult word to a lot of people. And actually, one of the things I do during my virtual trainings is to get people engaged. I'll say, everyone, take yourself off mute. And in the count of 3, I want you to say kinesthetic.
Yeah.
Okay. Kinesthetic. And okay, one more time, let's go, kinesthetic. So even remotely, when I'm virtual, I'm engaging the audience by getting them to repeat after me.
That seems like a tricky one. Like if you're doing Zoom presentation or conversations where you hope to, kind of move the conversation toward a desired outcome. I'm wondering what are some telltale signs that you're talking with someone that is a kinesthetic learner?
The fact that, they are going back and forth. I mean, so they're using the term show and then they're using the term tell. And sometimes, quite candidly, Josh, it's hard to figure out. So you really have to do a mixture of both during your presentation, especially if you have 4 or 5 people in the room or on the Zoom.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to have a visual on the screen. You got to be able to explain things that's also coming in, and you got to engage the audience. as well. And I encourage people, and I do this in my trainings, is I have a handout and I put sentences out there and I have some blank lines. So I encourage people, hey, first, we're going to go through our training class and I'm going to encourage you to take some notes. Mm-hmm. So I'm planting that subliminal message also that it's a good idea for them to get their pen and begin to take notes. Because what happens when people take notes?
Yeah, it reinforces it. So a kinesthetic person in particular, I think, because they're in the act of doing something.
Correct.
So engaging with you. So you might say to them, yeah, so if you have a pen and paper, let me give you some stuff. You could jot this down. Yeah, so that they're engaging with it.
Correct.
Are there any, like, if you're like, oh man, I am not picking it up here, are there any questions you can ask someone that might reveal this?
You can ask them, would you prefer I show you things or you want me to explain things to you?
Oh, that's good.
Okay, yeah. It's a very open-ended question, and it's a really kind of a direct approach.
Yeah.
But it works. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. I would imagine, anyone who's engaged with me knows that, I've got visuals ready to go. I'll demonstrate, like I have my diagram, my funnel, all kind of, so I kind of take them through that. So that's really helpful for my visual learners, because, if we're just talking about it, it's so funny because I can see, as soon as I show it to them, then they're all like, oh,
the light bulb goes off. Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Because, people, we all learn things differently, Josh, and we all hear things differently as well. I mean, we can say almost the same thing, just twist one word. And some people take that totally different meaning, right?
Yeah.
So it's all part of that visual auditory aspect of being able to learn how people gather things. And then if I can go back to that blank line, I'll go, all right, I sent you a document. So you see in the middle of the page, there's a blank line. So I want you put in there is, let's spell the word kinesthetic. And I write kinesthetic in there. So again, I'm telling them to write. And now they have notes also that they can now take away from my presentation, that they can now go back to, kind of reflect back upon the presentation. It reinforces the learning. And again, I had them write, I had them talk back to me, and they were listening to me. So I'm covering all three in my presentation, because I can't always pick out all, four or five people. I hit all three of those: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic.
Yeah. So good. So just to review, I think that, again, for a person watching this right now, here's your assignment, your next call. I want you to listen for the words, where they're, asking to see something, or you hear that language. Or I like, Jeff, the question you said, would you like to see this? Or do you want me to just keep telling you, kind of explain it that way?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. As much as I think I'm an auditory person, I mean, I really do value, being able to see it laid all out. I know for me, that provides a lot of clarity.
Right. I mean, the other thing you could always do is I'll show you everything. I'll explain things in detail, so it'll make you feel comfortable. So that comfortable phrase also is a kinesthetic of feeling good with the person. So that's a great money phrase. I always like to talk about during the session as well.
Yeah, I like that. There's one that, when I talk about, and I share my screen, and, I'm like, so our goal here is, so here's the visual right here, is like, oh, wow, there's the thing. But, for the kinesthetic, I think unintentionally I'll say, so our goal is, you show up to work on Monday and you sit down in your chair and you open up your calendar and you breathe like a sigh of relief, or you're just excited, like you could feel that enthusiasm when you see, 5 to 10 sales calls every single week. Like that would be a good kinesthetic thing to say.
Yeah, it's great. It's even the more powerful on your screen. You had a calendar. Imagine your calendar filled like this, and you have appointments scheduled all day. What would that mean to you? What would that mean to your business?
Wow.
And
These are, I hope, yeah, again, to our friend watching this right now, take some good notes here. This is really good. All right. So Jeff, this is really fantastic. Any other like application or anything else that you normally teach on in regards to this subject? Because I think, let me ask, no, before we get into that, I can ask you directly. How does someone get good at this? Because what we want, I think, again, where we are having lots of quote unquote sales conversations, we want this to be second nature. How
Correct.
can someone just automatically, like someone's talking, oh, they said the word C, like, and they instantly like, to be that in tune with that language.
Right. It's like everything else. It's part of its practice. We do on our Brandeis Training Solutions website, we have video clips on how to do this. We have short exams also, the 3 questions. All of our video clips are online for training are anywhere from 4 to 7 minutes long. So they're small sound bites, Josh. So, typically we package the video training to help reinforce the virtual training. So it's also part of that process of getting in the habit, practicing, and you get better at it, over time.
Yeah. It's a muscle. It absolutely is a muscle.
It's
and then,
memory.
it's really interesting. Are you familiar with like, there's unconscious, what, you know what I'm talking about? Like your conscious awareness, unconscious awareness. What are those?
Well, you're unconsciously just doing things because it's part of it's just your habit.
Yeah.
You run through it, and I kind of equate that to, actually, I just lost my train of thought there.
That's okay. I threw a curveball at you.
That's all right. I was going to go down the path and I lost it.
That's really interesting because see, this is really important for leaders who like, because if you've got that founder magic and you're so naturally good at sharing your enthusiasm for what you do. And then there's a lot of things you do and say because you've done it so many times that are just unconscious. The real struggle gets to when you need to hire somebody to help with sales. And so Jeff, and that's kind of the advantage of working with you, or again, how do I do what I do and actually breaking this down because someone who is not the founder just coming in like, hey, I like this product too, but I don't know, I don't know really how to sell it or get my point across. So I think that's the value in this. And then ultimately, I was bringing up the unconscious consciousness, or unconscious versus conscious. You start off having to be very consciously active about these skills, about, listening for learning styles. And then it does become complete second nature and you don't even know what you're doing.
Exactly. Correct. And I'll add one more thing if you don't mind. And, this has tremendous impact, not only in your professional life, Josh, but think about this when we go out into our personal lives. And I've had people come up to me 3 months later or call me or send me an email and go, hey, Jeff, I took what you learned. I now have the best relationship I ever had with my son or my daughter or even my spouse, because they now understand the signs of how to communicate better and how to basically form that relationship even stronger. Like the child, you typically yell at a child, clean your bed, clean your room, make your bed, right? And how often does that happen, right? So one of the things I train about and I talk about is, maybe your child could be, they're 8 years old, 9 years old. They know how to read. Put a little sign, a little poster board out right by their door. Make bed, clean room, brush teeth. And magically, all of a sudden it starts to become a habit for them because they see it. It's not something they have to remember. Yeah. So if you go into a bar, I hate to put it this way, but we get back, you meet somebody, you try and build that trust. Listen, and you could build that rapport really quick.
In our, and this is a whole nother, obviously a subject that we would talk about, but this would be something to note in your CRM for somebody as
definitely.
you get to,
Glad to bring that up. Yes.
Yep. So you could even have a drop down field in your CRM. You could set that up so you can do that way just very easily. Do I think they're visual, auditory, and kinesthetic? And now everyone communicating with that person just, oh, hey, they're a visual person. So,
I was at I trained at a local car dealership here in Clearwater not too long ago. So, typically what happens in a car dealership, the sales guy brings the manager over, right? Or the manager walks over trying to be that guy that closes the deal. Mm-hmm. So now we create hand signals. So they come over, hey, here's the visual person. Okay. Hey, upside down, auditory, right? Mm-hmm. So as the general manager comes over, he'll know how to interact with the guests that are now there. So he doesn't have to spend the time to figure out. The salesperson already knows. So now you have gang signals inside a dealership.
Yeah. Well, listen, the goal here is we want our friends watching this to be able to be more effective. And it's not about, Jeff, in no way is this about being manipulative. This is about being more helpful. This is about being able to, when someone has questions about something and you can explain it in a way that they understand, they're less frustrated. And they feel good about that interaction. And so I come at it from, kind of an empathic point of view is I want someone to be, to have enjoyed that time that we got to spend together in communication. So because I don't want them to feel uncomfortable, I want to be able to speak in their language so that they are like, wow, that was really, really helpful. Ultimately, it's still up to them whether or not they want to buy, but at least I want them to feel comfortable with the experience so that I know that they're making a decision knowing all the facts and they've absorbed everything in the way that they love to absorb it.
You build that rapport, they connect with you. They don't know why, quite candidly, Josh, okay? And that's the amazing part, okay? They don't know why now they feel an attachment, that they trust you. But you made that connection, you built that rapport. And that's what the key is to increase your sales.
Yeah. All right, Jeff, there's on this page right here, there is a link to your website, but for folks who are like, this is really great. How would they get started with you or where would you recommend they start? I mean, who do you typically work with? What kind of packages do you offer?
Well, we offer virtual packages with, the online training, obviously, that we just talked about. I'm happy to provide a free complimentary consultation. They can book some time on my calendar. Just go to www.speakwithjeff.com. It's my calendar link. Be happy to go out there, schedule some time. Let's just talk. I mean, it's complimentary. Let's see, we can build rapport. We can build a game plan to make your business grow. And they can also go out to Brandeistrainingsolutions.com or BrandeisCoaching.com.
Awesome. Jeff Brandeis, thank you so much. This has been really, really helpful. I get it. All right. Visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. And write that down, kinesthetic.
You got it. Sounds
hey,
great,
Jeff,
Don.
thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.